Hey friends, my name is Kate and welcome to your practice. This class is going to be a 30-minute active recovery flow. So it's meant to be practice maybe right after a workout or right after you've come in from a run. This would be a nice one to do after a really long surf, and it will definitely be helpful for cyclists, mountain bikers, and it might even just be yummy to do at the end of a long day. So you won't need any props for this class, but I do invite you to grab anything that you prefer to use in your practice. So I've got 2 yoga blocks here. We will do a couple of lunges. I find blocks helpful to just kind of lift the floor up to me. If you don't have blocks, no worries. Water bottles work good. Maybe even like a stack of books could work nice for you as well. There'll also be an option to use some therapy balls. So if you've got 2 therapy balls nearby, grab those. Tennis balls would work as well, but again, that's totally optional. And then you might notice behind me, I've got a chair. I'm just going to use that for savasana to help elevate my legs. Again, totally optional. Maybe you grab a chair, couch, legs up the wall, or just some blankets and pillows and cushions to help you get comfy. But when you're ready, let's get into it. We'll begin either in child's pose. If child's pose is not a comfortable pose for you, then maybe you just begin in a comfortable seated position. So as you're ready, go ahead and make your way into child's pose or a comfortable seat. If you are taking child's pose, allow your forehead to drop down onto some kind of support, whether that's maybe a yoga block or a pillow or your hands or the floor. I'm going to keep my head lifted just so I don't muffle my mic for you. But go ahead and drop your forehead down if you're in child's pose. And wherever you're at, child's pose or seated, if it's comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes, or maybe you just allow your gaze to become a bit soft. And then wherever you're at, take a moment here to just sense those contact points between your body and the floor. Notice those points of connection and support, and see if you can give yourself permission to really lean into that. And if you are hitting play like right after your workout or right after your run, you might notice that you're already pretty warm. Maybe your heart rate's elevated still. Maybe your breathing is still a little bit elevated. So I invite you to really meet yourself where you're at. Try not to force, try not to push. This isn't our training, this isn't our workout. And then once you feel like your breathing and your heart rate is steadied a little bit, see if you can just start to slow down and smooth out your breath. Maybe even lingering in the breath out a little bit more there to really start to encourage this downshift into recovery mode. As equally as important as all the training you've done, it's in this recovery mode where that growth and those adaptations can occur, where that information can land. So maybe think about this practice as that bridge that's going to bring you from your training and that elevated state into now more of a parasympathetic or rest and digest state where healing and recovery can occur. So take one more breath there wherever you're at. Don't rush it. Indulge in it. And then next time you inhale, let's all meet up in tabletop. So hands and knees. Once you breathe in again, drop your belly towards the floor and lift your chest for cow pose or spinal extension. On your breath out, tuck your tailbone, round your spine, maybe even drop your head there if that feels good. And stay there in that cat pose for the breath in. So as you inhale, think about filling up the back of your lungs. Exhale as you drop your belly, lift your chest, come back through cow. We'll stay there for the breath in. Maybe think about filling up your chest and the front of your lungs. And then exhale, coming into cat pose or spinal flexion. And again, we'll pause there for the breath in to fill up. Let's take one more round. So exhaling as you transition into cow. You'll stay there for the breath in. Try not to rush it. On the exhale, round the spine one more time for cat. And then again, stay there for the inhale, filling up the back of the body. Exhale, come on back through tabletop. As you next inhale, stretch your right leg back behind you. I'm just going to move up on my mat a little bit. And then use the ball of the foot there to create some circles through your foot and ankle. So take a few circles in one direction. Let these feel good. Take a few circles in the opposite direction. Maybe feeling it through the roots of the toes or the sole of the foot or the top of the foot or the ankle or the calf. Come on back through center there. Start to push into your hands to drop your right heel towards the mat. Just going for a nice little calf stretch. And if need be, you could walk your hands a little bit further forward and really press into the mat to float the hips up and back. That left knee might get light. It kind of looks like down dog, but see if you can really get into that right calf there. Drop your head, take one more breath. And then slowly land that left knee back underneath you. Take an inhale, lift your right leg up. And as you exhale, lean into your left hand, step your right foot through. You can give it some assistance if it needs it. And we're coming into a lunge. So this is where I find blocks to be quite helpful. Again, water bottles, stacks of books work as well. You can have your hands framing the foot or inside the foot. I'm going to have my hands inside the foot today just so you can see what my front foot is doing. But take a moment first to find like an appropriate length and width in your lunge. So you can wiggle the feet wider, closer together. Just find something that works for you. Doesn't need to look like my lunge. And then once you get settled in there, let's come back to the breath. So on the inhale, allow your hips to drop and let your chest lift. On the exhale, gently press into your front foot to lift your hips up and back. And if it feels okay, maybe float those front toes up. We're going for just real gentle, mellow tugs through the hips, through the legs here. So notice that my knee is quite bent. I'm not forcing, I'm not pushing. I'm just kind of working with my muscles and tissues and how they're feeling right now. So we'll do that 2 more times with the breath. As you inhale, come forward, drop your hips, lift your chest, maybe a gentle tug over the front of that left hip, left thigh. Exhale, gently glide your hips back, maybe float your front toes up. Feeling maybe just a subtle tug through the back of that right leg. We'll take 1 more round. Inhale as you come forward. Exhale, lean your hips back. Good, then inhale, come forward. Get that right foot grounded, so you may want to slide it back a touch there. Bring your right hand to your right thigh, and then press into your right footprint in your right hand to lift your chest. Let your left arm follow. Take a breath in here, lengthen through that left side body. As you breathe out, find just a subtle tuck of your tailbone. Really get into that hip flexor on the left side there. And then take a side bend over to your right. So hitting just some different angles of the hips. Now you can keep reaching actively through that left hand. If you had maybe an intense arm shoulder workout today, then you could always let that left arm just kind of drape overhead. Maybe even grab a hold of your head there and lean your head a little bit to the right. To just turn up some sensation through that left side body. Take maybe 1 or 2 more breath cycles there. Feeling the breath moving through that left side. And then next time you breathe in, just lift your chest, lift that left arm out. As you breathe out, now we're taking left elbow towards right knee. It might rest on top of the knee. It might hook outside of the knee. Coming into a twist, hands to prayer, and then gently rotating your chest, your ribs towards the right. Now again, try not to force this. We'll ease in with the breath. Next time you breathe in, maybe sense that you can get a little bit longer from crown to tail. And then as you breathe out, maybe feel just a little bit of connection between elbow and knee to help you rotate your ribs. Pause for the breath in and lengthen. Use the breath out to help you explore a little bit more depth. 1 more round. And maybe you're not actually moving much as you breathe, but can you use the breath to help cultivate a little bit more suppleness and ease? Good. Inhale to lift yourself out. Exhale, get your hands to the blocks or to the floor. We'll sweep that right leg back behind us, coming into tabletop for the second side. So once you're ready, take a breath in, stretch your left leg back behind you. Again, we'll kind of pivot off the ball of the foot there, making some circles through the foot and the ankle. Take a few in one direction. Take a few in the opposite direction. Should feel really nice too if your feet were in shoes while you were training. And then come on back to center. Press into your hands, drop your left heel. Remember, if you need a little bit more, walk your hands forward. And you could even take that kind of half down dog, pushing into your hands so much. As a result, your hips lift and that right knee kind of gets light. It's along for the ride. Drop that left heel, drop your head, take one more breath. And slowly set your right knee back down. Take an inhale, lift your left leg up. Then as you exhale, lean into your right hand, take a big step with that left foot, and then take a moment to set up your lunge on this side, keeping in mind that it might feel or need to look a little different than the lunge on the first side. So once you found that nice length and width, maybe use your blocks or your props there. When you're ready with the breath in, drop your hips and lift your chest. Again, maybe just a real subtle tug across the front of that right hip and right thigh. As you exhale, press into your left footprint, lean your hips back, and maybe float your front toes up. Remember that left knee can be pretty generously bent here. We're not going for a deep stretch, but more of a subtle tug through the back of that left leg. All right, 2 more rounds. Inhale as you come forward. And sense that you can use this gentle movement to help create, again, that sense of suppleness and ease. Exhale, hips lean back. 1 more round. Inhale, come forward. And exhale, hips lean back. Good. Then inhale, come forward. Get your left footprint to the floor. Left hand to left thigh. And then press into the left foot and the left hand. Inhale, lift your chest. Lift and lengthen through that right arm. Again, as you exhale, find just a real subtle tuck of that tailbone. You should feel a little bit more through that right hip flexor now. And then keep that as you exhale, side bend left. Maybe feeling some of that sensation kind of shift towards the outer hip a little bit too. Now remember, you can reach actively through that right arm. That might feel a little different than letting the arm drape overhead. You could even grab a hold of the head and lean your head to the left, the weight of the head, helping to guide that right elbow up and over a little bit more. But come back to your breath. Notice the movement of your breath there through that right side. And again, can you feel the breath supporting you, not only by nourishing you, but the movement of the breath also helping to create a little bit more space and freedom and ease from the inside out. Good. Inhale to lift your chest, lift that right arm back up. As you exhale, right elbow towards left knee. Again, it could rest on top of the knee or hook outside of it. As you feel stable, hands to prayer, and just start to ease yourself in, rotating your chest towards the left. Then pause for the breath in and feel a little bit more length happen from crown to tail. Then use the exhale to help you kind of lean in and rinse out a little bit more through that twist. 2 more breaths. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale as you lean in. 1 more full cycle there. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Use the inhale to help unravel you. Get your hands back to the mat. Carefully sweep that left leg back behind you. And then from tabletop, you're just going to lower down onto your belly. We're going to come onto our right cheek, and our right arm's going to come into a cactus shape. So elbow is bent. Elbows maybe shoulder height, maybe a little bit higher. If you know that your pecs, your shoulders are a little tight today, fingertips pointed forward, forearm on the floor. As you lower onto your right cheek, again, I'm just trying to be a little bit mindful of my mic here. Press into your left hand, start to roll towards your right hip, and just know that you can pause anywhere along the way here. You may even kind of want to bend your knees a little bit so this feels pretty easeful. If you need a little bit more, you can take that left leg back behind you. But what we're going for, again, is just a really subtle tug, subtle sense of length across that right side pec and the front of the right shoulder. So once you get into a good spot there, drop your head, come back to your breath. Maybe feel your breath moving in that right side shoulder, right side pec. And stay for 1 more cycle there. Yeah, then gently support yourself as you roll back through center. We'll do the second side. So you'll come onto your left cheek now. Left arm will be in that cactus shape. I'm just going to be kind of mindful of my mic. You can drop your head. I'm going to keep my head lifted. But as you're ready, you'll press into your right hand and roll towards the left. Maybe I'll bring my hand on my head there so my mic's not too muffled. And again, keep in mind this side might be asking you to go somewhere different. So just find something that works for you. This side feels a little bit more resistant to me. So kind of find that edge that you can work with, and then tap into your breath. Breathe into that space. Breathe into that resistance. Use your breath to really cultivate that sense of ease and suppleness. Lingering in that breath out as a way to really just let go. Surrendering and softening so that our bodies can do what they do best, and that's heal and recover. And also trusting that this is an important part of your training too, right? This surrender, this softness, it's not going to take away from your strength. It's only going to support it and enhance it even more. So take one last breath there. Good, gently come on back through center, cobra pose, point your toes back, anchor your pubic bone, slide your hands right next to your ribs, under your shoulders. And then as you breathe in, hug your shoulders back, lift your chest. And exhale, slowly release. Inhale, press on back up to hands and knees. And then your choice now, child's pose, how we started, or maybe downward facing dog, if that sounds like it would feel nice for you. Keep in mind, maybe if you did, again, have an intense arm, shoulder, chest workout today, you could skip down dog and maybe just head right to child's. But if down dog sounds like it would feel yummy, you'll tuck your toes and push the mat away with your hands, float your hips up and back. The key actually to doing less in the shoulders in down dog is to really stay grounded and rooted through your hands. Spread your hands. Again, push the mat away from you. Think about sending your chest and your belly back towards your thighs. As you anchor into your hands, maybe sense a lightness through your ribs and hips. And then as you stay anchored through your hands, can you let your head drop, the muscles of your jaw and neck soften, your breath be steady. You might want to be still in down dog, or maybe take a few pedals through your feet, alternate bending one knee at a time. Continue to work into those roots of the toes, soles of the feet, calves, hamstrings. And then if you're in child's pose, go ahead and come up to tabletop. If you're in down dog, you can explore walking your feet forward, but however you'd like to get there, we're going to meet up in a forward fold at the front of the mat, but I'm going to invite you to move really slowly and mindfully and intentionally, maybe moving with appreciation and intention and care. Once you get up into that forward fold, again, maybe blocks would be helpful under your hands. You can bend your knees as generously as you'd like to there, but see if you can let your head drop. Again, feeling the jaw and the neck soften. As you inhale, just look up a little bit in front of you. Start to heel toe your feet out wide, and then pivot on your heels to turn your toes out and your heels in. We're coming into malasana or a yogic squat. And this is, again, where maybe a block or some books or some pillows would be helpful. So you'll slowly start to lower your hips down to hover between your heels, maybe resting on that prop there if need be, depending on your mobility and maybe how tired or sore you are. You could also let your hips hover. Some days I like to have my hands out on the floor in front of me. That just feels more stable, more grounded. Some days I find I like to bring my elbows inside my knees, my hands to prayer. I find the elbows inside the knees helps me to lift my chest a little and get some nice traction for my spine. So that might be a nice option for you there. You can rock a little bit, or maybe just stay still. Just take a moment to come back to your breath. Maybe turn the corners of your mouth up slightly towards your ears. Again, smiling in gratitude and appreciation for your body and all of these incredible things that it does for us. If you've got any props underneath you, you just want to remove those first. Bring your hands back behind you and just slowly lower down to your seat. We'll come into a seated malasana. So our seat now on the floor, our legs are out in front of us. And then again, maybe kind of toes out, heels in slightly there. Now you can keep your hands on the floor behind you. In fact, I suggest that, especially if you come out of a workout or some kind of intense activity. But use that to help keep your chest lifted, your spine long. We'll take a nice breath in here at center. And then as you breathe out, you're just dropping both of your legs to the right. So it's kind of like this little 90-90 shape, getting some nice rotation of the thigh bone and the hip sockets. Inhale, come on back up to center, lift your chest, seated malasana. And then exhale, just drop your knees over towards the left. go slowly. We'll do that 2 more times to each side. So inhale lifts you up to center, and it's normal to kind of wiggle around on your mat. Exhale, come on over to the right. Inhale up through center. And then exhale over to the left. One more time on each side. Inhale through center. And exhale right. Inhale back to center. And then exhale, knees to the left. Good. Inhale, come on back up to center. We're going to slowly lower onto your back, our backs. If you have therapy balls, now would be a great time to grab them and use them. But as you make your way down onto your back, we'll meet up with knees bent, feet flat here. So if you would like to use the therapy balls, again, tennis balls would work too. Even a couple pairs of rolled up socks could actually be really nice. Totally optional though. If you don't have them, they're not nearby, you don't want to use them, no big deal. You can totally do this without. But if you'd like to use the therapy balls, you'll press into your feet, lift your hips enough to slide the therapy balls underneath you, and we're going for one under each butt cheek, and maybe kind of aiming for like the bullseye there. Now, once you set your hips back down, we're really trying to encourage those tissues on the back of the hips, gluteus maximus there, to melt around the therapy balls, so we're not mashing the hips down. We're really trying to encourage this melting. And keep in mind, if you're working into this, there could be some tender spots, and usually tender spots are good spots to work into. But none of this should be painful, right? We're not digging, we're not forcing. Save like the deep tissue work for the massage therapist. We're really just trying to rejuvenate and rehydrate these tissues that have likely worked really hard after your training or your run or whatever activity you were doing. These muscles that, no matter what, help move us forward in the world as we walk or run. So whether you got the therapy balls underneath you or not, we're going to take the right ankle over the left knee. If you do have the therapy balls underneath you, that might turn up the sensation a little bit more on that right side. And then everyone just kind of find a little rocking of your legs. So if you've got the therapy balls, you're kind of rocking kind of over and off that right side one, a little bit of sensation in the left side. And even if you don't have the therapy balls underneath you, can you use that firm foundation of the earth to gently massage out through those tissues on the back of your hips? Take another rock or two. Good. Then gently bring yourself back to center. You'll uncross the right ankle. If you need to reset your therapy balls, feel free. And then we'll take left ankle over right knee. And again, keeping the hips heavy, just this gentle rocking of the legs. And you might notice too, I'm like barely rocking my legs. So let it be easeful, let it be effortless. Feeling that compression in the tissues maybe that are on top of the therapy balls, or again, maybe just using the compression of the tissues on the floor, rocking. Maybe imagining these tissues and these muscles like sponges at the kitchen sink, right? And when you compress, when you squeeze the sponge, you initially drive fluid out into surrounding tissues. When you release that compression, then these tissues are able to soak all that fluid back in. So the nourishment of our oxygen-rich blood. We're also helping to bring water into the tissues, to hydrate them, to support them in being supple and resilient. Yeah, if you're still rocking, bring yourself to stillness and gently uncross the left ankle. Just pause there for a breath. And as you breathe out, can you sense your hips and those tissues on the back of your hips just melting a little bit more? If you got the therapy balls underneath you, just gently remove those. You can set those off to the side. And then draw your knees in towards your chest and gently drop your knees over towards the left for a supine twist. Option to bring some pillows or blocks between your knees or underneath your knees. But allow yourself to set up in a twist that, again, feels fairly effortless and easeful. Allowing yourself to really lean into that support and that foundation of the earth, of the mat that's underneath you. Once you get set up in your twist, come back to your breath. Maybe find that slightly slower breath out there. With every exhale, maybe sensing that you can let go of any unnecessary tension. Let go of the need to be working or pushing or striving. Instead, giving yourself that space to really now surrender into support so that we can receive. We can recalibrate, we can recharge, we can recover. Take one more breath there. Don't rush the breath out. Really lean into it. And use your next inhale to help bring your knees, yourself back up to center. And then as you're ready, gently drop your knees over towards the right. Take your twist to the other direction. And again, take your time setting it up. Use any props to support you there. This side could potentially feel a little different than the first side, so be okay with that. Especially as athletes, active humans, human beings, all human beings, but especially for people who are a little bit more active, athletes, train, surf, whatever you do. Just remember that the tension that you are feeling in your body, these lines of tension, just remember that it's not a negative thing, it's not a bad thing, it's actually a really helpful, necessary thing that gives us this integrity and the structure and the support. More so maybe with the stretching, with the mobility work, we're kind of looking for those pockets of unnecessary tension where maybe we're gripping or we're holding on, or there's a little static in the communication lines, a little bit of miscommunication there. So for these last couple of breaths, again, notice that you're not trying to like force yourself into any kind of deep twist. You're not trying to dissolve all of this tension entirely. We're really just trying to look for those pockets where maybe we're still gripping, we're still holding on, we're still overworking. And just reminding ourselves that this surrender, this letting go, this softening is just as important as all the work. And this recovery is what's going to fuel the next session. This recovery is preparation for tomorrow. And we need both the work and the rest if we want that sustainable whole. So take one last breath here. Lean into that breath out. Let go without force. Just soften in. And then gently come on back to center. This is where we're going to find our savasana, and we'll finish up with a little bit of breathing just to help us really drop into that recovery mode. So you may just want to stretch your legs out long. That's great. It might be more comfortable to find knees bent, feet flat. You could let your knees lean in against one another. Butterfly is a good option too. A nice symmetrical shape for the hips, get into those inner thighs. I would recommend maybe sliding some blocks or pillows or props underneath your knees so that you feel really supported there and you're not straining or working at all to be in the shape. This is where I'm just going to use my chair to elevate my legs. You could also use a chair or a sofa, or if you've got some wall space, you could put your legs up the wall. But go ahead and get yourself set up for Shavasana, and then I'll talk you through the breath work. Wherever you're at, again, just make sure you feel supported. Once you get settled in, take a moment to feel into those contact points between the back of your body and the floor, your props, or the wall. And once again, can you really sense that you can lean into that support, recognizing that it's not going to take away from your strength or your ability to support yourself. In fact, by receiving support, maybe it's only going to fuel that strength to support yourself again when it's time. And once you get settled in, tune back into your breath. We're going to add a count to the breath in. We're going to hold the breath for a few counts at the top. And then we're going to take a nice slow hissing exhale through the teeth. And as you exhale, I want you to imagine that you're like deflating with the breath out, right? You're really just emptying, dropping in, and letting go. So this is the 4-7-8 breath. We'll be inhaling through the nose for 4, pausing and holding at the top for 7 counts. The hold is not meant to be stressful. It's really just intended to help capture the nourishment and harness the potential of the breath. Nice slow 8 count exhale, that hissing breath out through the teeth. It'll sound like this. And again, imagining here that you're like leaking air out of a tire, right? You're just slowly deflating, melting into that support around you. So when you're ready, go ahead and empty your breath out. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause and hold at the top for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hissing exhale for 8 through the teeth. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then begin again. So inhale through your nose for 4. Filling up without strain. Pause and hold at the top for 7. And really imagine here that you can relax and float in this hold. Hissing exhale for 8 out of the teeth. Really linger in the breath. Empty out all the way. And then take 3 more rounds on your own. Inhaling 4. Pausing and holding for 7. Hissing exhale for 8. Two more rounds on your own. Count to yourself. Take your last round. Take a moment here to allow your breath to return to its own natural, effortless rhythm. Pause for a moment and just notice and acknowledge how you feel. Maybe how you feel a little different from when you first rolled out your mat and began. This is where I'm going to leave you. So if you have more time to stay and rest, I really encourage you to do so, remembering that the rest is productive. It's in the rest where all the work we've done has an opportunity to land. But if this is all the time that you have, then I appreciate you and acknowledge you for carving out this time for your practice and for this active recovery. And I hope it makes a difference in your recovery and how you feel when it's time to go again tomorrow. So thank you for your practice and for your presence today. I'm looking forward to recording some more videos for you all and sharing them here for free on YouTube, as well as my online platform that I'm currently working on. So if you have any feedback, any suggestions, I would love to hear those from you. I'm open to receive those. And if you'd like to support the online platform that I'm currently building, then I've shared my Venmo and my PayPal information in the description below. But thank you again for being here. I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a really wonderful day wherever you are. And I hope to see you back on your mat again soon. Cheers. Take care, you guys. Thank you.